been quite a while since I've last spoken about my analog mixing chain. And it's safe to say that a lot has changed in the last 5 years. However, one thing that did not change is the SPL DMC Mastering Console. I use it every day and I love it. That's why I want to do a revisit of the SPL DMC, why I use it and for what purpose, and especially in combination with the SPL Hermes. So let's go. Today I want to show you my analog master chain. And I don't call it master chain because I'm a mastering engineer, but that's the chain that I will use on my master bus to add the finishing touches. That's the idea behind my master chain. And I'll have stuff like the beautiful COMP.TWO, the Alpha compressor, the HDE 250, and some stuff on the side rack, also the X-Max, and they are all connected through my insert matrix, which is the SPL Hermes. That is my insert chain, and I can arrange all the devices in that chain. By the way, I'm super stoked to show you my setup through this new top angle view. And that top angle view is only doable because Stefan Heger from Mastering Works helped me out with a Latch Lake micKing. That's a heavy duty mic stand that is capable of holding my camera plus a light, plus a microphone. So Stefan, thank you so much for helping me. I think this is a brilliant way to show you my mastering gear in the future, or how I approach analog master bus processing, because you can see what's going on. Right now it's a little bit wonky. I probably need a better lens and a better angle view, but I'm in the middle of moving to my new flat with my girlfriend. So pretty exciting times. And yeah, I will then rearrange everything and then we will have also a better view. All right, before I digress too far, let's talk about the analog chain and how I use it. The center of attention for me all the time is my DMC. That is the most essential tool for me. What is the DMC? Well, it's a mastering console. It's designed to give you everything that you would need as a mixing and mastering engineer. From a monitor controller to an input controller to an insert that you can bypass to a source mixer. Everything that you want as an engineer at some point in your production process is here in the DMC. So let's talk about it. Actually, we have two sides. We have the input side, which is the which is everything that you need for recording. And on the right-hand side, we have sort of like the monitoring section. Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. The idea is that the DMC gives you a set of different inputs and sources. So on the left-hand side, I have all these inputs, and these are individual inputs that I could use with the recording gain and with the insert. So the idea is I have 4 different inputs, and in my case, that's the ADI-24. So input number 1 is my mastering converter, which is the RME ADI-24 Pro SE, and that is coming out of input number 1. Number 2 is my Rodec MX modular. So whenever I do jams or mixes on the Rodec, then I switch to number 2, and I can then have this as my recording input. And the last input that I'm using is number 3, and that's the SPL MixDream, my summing mixer. So actually I have 3 different use cases, and that is already insane because I either do finished mixes, with the ADI. I have fun with my second input through the MX modular where I do some jams, or I use input number 3 where I do summing mixes. So when a client comes to me and sends me over his or her track and he wants to have it mixed through a summing amp, then I use input number 3. And all these 4 inputs that I have here, just that alone means that I have an incredible amount of flexibility. Because think about it, everything that comes behind that is still available. I only do an input switch. That's awesome. So I have my input, and with the recording gain, this big chunky knob that you see here, I can determine the signal strength that goes out of the two individual recording outputs. So if I set record gain on, then I have the possibility to add or decrease the recording volume. And recording output number 1 is going into the input of my ADI2 Pro 4 SE, which makes sense because, I want to record the chain back into the computer. Recording output number 2 is connected to my patch bay. And I did that because I wanted to have the possibility to use all my samplers. So recording output number 2 is set to my patch bay, and then I record some stuff. Maybe, I have some sounds that I have from my Ableton session, and then I use some EQs or some compression, and then I go straight into my Akai or my EMU. That's how I work. All right. So you can also set the input signal to mono with that switch. And on the left-hand side, right next to the recording knob, you also have the possibility to switch off the left or the right-hand side, to change the phase, or to completely switch everything. Really, really cool. The last thing that you have on the recording side, so to say, is the input trim. And that's actually the input of the DMC. So here you can set the input if there is some discrepancies for the left and the right hand side. That can happen, for so many times. A transformer that is a little bit different, or my tape machine, when I record through my tape machine, then sometimes I need to trim the left or the right hand side because tape machines are just organic, and that's why I have these like 0.25 setting that I can add or decrease. There's minus and plus next to that switch here. That means that you can either add or set it off. Sorry, I forgot the name for minus. Long day, whatever. Then you have sources, and sources is that you can also use. That's the idea behind sources, is that you can actually compare the inputs that you have here to a competitive mix, for example. So if you would have like one input from Spotify or a CD player, or somebody brings a computer, and then you can put it to the sources, and then you can put the source on, and then you switch to source, and then you can monitor that. But the source is not affected by the insert. So you always have the possibility to compare the source with the actual mix. Then you have the insert, and the insert is what I use 99.9% of the time. That's the master insert switch. And SPL were so clever to use the insert switch in combination with their Hermes. So what you get is, once you have a Hermes and you connect the Hermes to the insert of the DMC, what you actually get is an insert switch for your Hermes. So if it's on bypass, then it's not working. But if you set it to, if the Hermes is set on, and then you switch the insert, what that means is you have your mastering chain or your master bus chain, which you can activate or deactivate through the insert switch. And that is super cool. It's a touch of a button. I'm way faster here than I would be in a computer. All right, so that's already insanity. Okay, that's the left-hand side. Right-hand side is sort of like the monitoring side, apart from the insert return trim that I will talk about first, because this is the return of the insert. So if you have the insert activated, well, then you can also trim the insert return in order to have a better comparison between the affected and unaffected mix. So let's say you have a very loud insert return, because, for example, my COMP.TWO, I love to smack the hell out of that, creates a lot of nice overtones. Well, you can also take care of that by compensating for the loudness with the insert return, and also very fine controls. So really, really cool. So that plays in to that. And just think about it, what you get here. You get so much control over your stereo bus. It's absolutely magnificent. Just all these things in individual gear would be an absolute nightmare to connect all of that at the same time, right? So that alone is pretty damn cool. But what we come to now is actually mind-boggling, and that is the monitoring section. So we have a monitoring section here. We can connect up to 4 speakers. How cool is that? Absolutely insane. I don't know who needs 4 speakers. I have 2, and that's absolutely enough. You know, it's I don't know who needs 4, but you can do that. You have 4 individual speakers and a headphone output, so you could actually activate this Phonitor HP out, which means SPL is using that for a Phonitor, which is their headphone preamp, but you could also use any other headphone preamp through that, right? That's super, super cool. Aside from the headphone, we also have a sub control. So we can add a sub to our monitor. And not only that, we can link that sub to a specific set of speakers. So if I would press and hold both speakers at the same time, you see that they were blinking, meaning that they are now connected. So when I go to speaker number B, well, no sub connected. And if I go back to speaker A, then, well, I have my sub already connected to that. That is super, super cool. And then you can set that off again by pressing both at the same time. And now it's out. So now the speaker is again without the sub, and I can then set this up to all these different, or add this up to every speaker. Then I have this like general purpose interface, which is a voltage that you can send out to activate a recording lamp or something like that. You know, that's pretty cool. I think you could also use it to activate the sub or a passive amp for speakers, but don't quote me on that. But I think that's also something you could do with that as well. So it's a general purpose interface. There's a fixed voltage that it's sending out once you activate it. Super cool idea. Then we have the monitoring section on the right hand side, meaning we can dim the speaker. We can have a trim for the selected speaker. By the way, we can also use that. We can also use that trim together with the speaker and with the source. So I could combine that. So when I have that activated, oh sorry, yeah, looked. Oh no, sorry. I can have the monitoring connected to the source, for example. So let's say I have a source that is very, very loud, like a CD player. I could have a decoupling of the. So now it should work. Okay. So, oh no. Okay. There's a way. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, you can also connect that to a source or to an insert, for example, when you need something like that. Okay. Yeah, I don't use that, but maybe in the future. That's why I'm not proficient with that. Sorry. Then we can also do like soloing the left or the right hand side, and also can switch the phase. So this is a lot of controls, and I use this daily. I use this high quality monitor controller all the time in combination with a recording gain. That's just how I work. I use this daily, and it's just a life and time saver to have all these features in here. You know, if I wouldn't have the DMC, I would be really, really pissed off, because I use this so much that I forgot about it, you know, because I'm sitting here, I do my mixes. Oh yeah, this is not good. I need to go back to input number 1. The insert is not good. Let's see. Oh, a little bit too loud. Let's do this and do that, and just double check it. Oh, crazy. Let's listen to that, to the speaker. It's very fast. You start to work extremely fast through the DMC, and you forget about it. And that's the beauty of analog, because you're focusing on the work that you're doing, not on the actual hardware or you don't look at the screen. You're actually just working. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I see you in the next video. And I will do also a mixing session in the future in the new studio where you can sort of like look over my shoulder how I would approach the mixing and mastering or pre-mastering for that matter with the DMC and how I would approach that. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope this wasn't too dry, but I wanted to show you that because I think it's a lovely, lovely, lovely tool, and everybody should know about the DMC. Okay, it's safe to say that the SPL DMC is quite an expensive piece of gear, but what you have to understand is it is built for mastering and mixing studios that use it daily. And you can feel that. It's such a beautifully engineered piece of gear and feels just amazing. I love it. And yeah, I use it every day, never left my rack. It's beautifully made and I feel just like always in control, and I'm super fast. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the SPL DMC or the Hermes or how I approach analog mixing, please write me a comment down below.